I'm Alex and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I talk about the things that I make each month. I've got some knitting and some sewing bits to show you and probably a little bit of shop news as well. So I'm going to put my tea down and I'm going to get started. I think I'll tell you first about what I'm wearing, so I'll start with some sewing. This is the Mandy Boat Tee by Tatiti Patterns, and I'll just stand up so you can have a little bit of a better idea of how that looks on. It's a sort of boxy fit. It's very lightweight jersey. It's actually a lot lighter than I was hoping for. That's one of the tricky things about buying jersey fabrics online, is that I actually thought this was going to have a bit more body and a bit more structure to it, more like a sort of traditional Breton top, but it's actually quite a lightweight. It's actually a viscose, so I thought it was a cotton, but I obviously hadn't read the description properly, and it's actually a viscose, so it has got a really nice drape to it, which is great. Now I've sewn it up, I'm really happy with it. It's just one of those things that I'm sure we've all been there when you open something that you bought online and it's not quite what you thought you were buying when you clicked on it. But yeah, I'm really pleased. I've heard about this top so many times on the Love to Sew podcast. That's an audio podcast that I listen to every week, and they have mentioned the Mandy Boat Tee so many times. My go-to sort of top like this is usually the Lark Tee by Grain Line Studios, but I thought I would give this a try, do something a little bit different. It's got a boat neck and I've done the long sleeve version. It's got this sort of drop shoulder and a very straight fit. I used my overlocker to piece it together, and I used a twin stitch on the sewing machine, so it gives it that nice finish. I wonder if I can show you. I'm not sure if you'll see it very clearly, but there is like 2 rows of stitching around the hem, the cuffs and the neckband, and you can use that on a regular sewing machine, so you don't have to have anything special for jersey, and it's just a twin needle that you replace where your normal needle goes. So that's a great tip if you are new to sewing jersey. That gives it that really like professional finish where you get the 2 lines of really even stitching. So yeah, and another thing that I always use on my sewing machine is I think it's called the walking foot. I'll pop a link to it in the show notes because that really helps if you're sewing jersey. It's quite a bulky foot that goes onto your machine, and I think it has a separate set of feed dogs, so it's actually feeding your fabric from the top and the bottom, which just makes it feed through really slowly. You don't get any of the skipped stitches or some of the things that make sewing jerseys sometimes a little bit trickier because there's so much movement there, whereas a cotton or a woven fabric is much more stable. So that really helps. And yeah, now I've sewn this, I think I took maybe 2.5 inches off of the length and about 1 inch off the cuff, just because I'm a bit more petite than the pattern was made for. Just for reference, I would usually buy a UK size 10 if I was buying a t-shirt like this, and I actually did the extra small size, so it is a top that comes up sort of more on the boxy kind of oversize. It's not a fitted top, whereas the Lark Tee, that has more of a slightly fitted silhouette for a t-shirt, more of a classic t-shirt style. But yeah, I'm really pleased that I tried this. I'm definitely going to do another one. I've actually got some very autumnal fabric here that I'm thinking of using next, and I've shown this before, and it was, I don't know, probably winter last year. I did a Nico top in this fabric in a green, like an olivey green colour, and I bought this with the intention of doing a Nico top as well, and just never got around to sewing it. I don't know, for whatever reason I wasn't really drawn to sewing with this fabric again at the time, and I thought I'm just going to wait until autumn comes. As soon as, you know, when it gets to this time of year, you want all of these kind of colours. So yeah, it's that time of year and I am excited to sew with this. And I think, yeah, rather than doing the Nico top, I think I'm going to do another Mandy Boat Tee. This is a slightly heavier jersey. It's got a really nice feel to it. This was from Mizzen Textiles on Berwick Street in London, and they're a great fabric store, really lovely quality fabrics in there. And yeah, I think this will make a great top. There's quite a lot here, I might even be able to get both, so that would be great if I could. Maybe next time when I see you, I'll have a Nico top and a Mandy Boat Tee. So yeah, I think that's probably all I've got to say on this. The hardest thing I think about this project, it would have been really fast sew if it hadn't been stripes, because I did try and sort of marry up the seams at each side. I don't know if you can see, I think I did pretty well almost getting each of those. So basically I just had to pin my pattern pieces so carefully, make sure that they both, I think I lined it up from the hem and just made sure that the underarm seam was kind of at the same sort of point on the stripe for both front and back pieces. And then just every single stripe I was pinning those together before I put that through the machine. But it was worth it, I think, to get that kind of finish. I like to have I think that's what makes it a bit more special about making your own clothes, is you can really take the time to have that attention to detail that you might not get in a more kind of fast fashion shop. I'm sure they do it in some of the higher end shops, but I'm sure in lots of fast fashion shops it's more about speed, and they're not worrying so much if like all of the patterns are matching and that kind of thing. So I think that's something that makes it a bit special about making your own things. So I'll pop all those details in the show notes. I've mentioned before, if you watch my podcast, that there'll be a link below this video where you can either go straight over to my blog, where I'll have all the links of everything, patterns, yarn, fabrics I talk about. But if you want, I also do an email that goes out every time one of these videos goes live. Everybody that's joined my show notes mailing list will get an email saying a video has gone live, and it will have all the links that I've talked about in that video right there in your email. So you've sort of got it all to hand while you're watching. If that's something you want to do, then you can sign up below. And I'll put the details of where you can find the pattern and all that kind of stuff. So I think that is everything that I've got for sewing today. So I'll move on to knitting, and I've got a really, really cute little thing to show you first for knitting. This is really sweet. It's Tin Can Knits. It's the Flax light sweater, and some of you might have seen this on my Instagram already. I made this for my nephew, he's about 9 months old now, and this is the 6 to 12 month size. I've done it in the what was this called? It was really deep stash, uncommon thread, tough sock base, and it's the peak colourway. And you can kind of see that it's a tonal that's got that. I think it's really picking up in this light. The sun is just setting. Trying to chase the light actually today. Right before I started filming, there was a storm, so I'd got myself all ready, washed, dressed, everything, and then there was a huge storm. And it was really, really dark in here, so I'm filming this a little bit later than I wanted to, but seem to have enough light, so hopefully the light will keep for the rest of the podcast. But it's showing this really nicely in the fact that you can see there's that variation in colour. So it's almost like a plummy shade that goes to a brown. It's a really, really, really nice sort of fine, very, it's a nice soft yarn, but it's got that hard wearing feel. It's sort of soft for a baby knit. It is, I'll have to put in the show notes, I can't remember. Do I have the ball band? Let's have a look. I think in here, this was the bag that I was using when I was sewing this, when I was knitting this one. It's one of my autumn bloom bags from the shop at the moment, and I think in the bottom, still got my ball band and the last little bit. So you can see actually I've still got quite a bit of yarn. This was just one skein for the 6 to 12 months, and it is it's Blue Face Leicester. So it's a superwash Blue Face Leicester with 20% nylon. So that's why I could kind of feel that it seemed like it was going to be, I guess that's why it's called a tough sock. It feels like tough yarn that's gonna last, and it fit him with the cuffs rolled back. So it's really hard with little ones to gauge what's going to be a great size, because I feel like all babies are so different. They don't just not all babies are the same every month to month, so I feel like it's quite hard when you're doing it by months. But he obviously at 9 months, he does seem to be right in the middle of the 6 to 12 months. So I think this probably will last for a bit over the winter, because I was able to roll the cuffs up, but it didn't look too big. I don't like it when sort of knits look like they're swamping little ones, so I kind of like that it has a bit of room to grow, but it's not like 2 sizes too big that he's going to be wearing it for 2 years. But it's really, really cute, and he seemed happy to put it on, and he looked really cute in it. So if you haven't looked at that already, you have to have a look at my Instagram and see the lovely little pictures of him wearing it. So that was one of the main things I wanted to show you today. That's my only finished knitting object. So as I've got this bag out, I might show you what else was in here. these autumn bloom bags are still in the shop, but not for long. I'm getting ready to put in the winter bags so that everybody can get those in time for Christmas. Shipping still seems to be everything seems to be running here, but I think there probably are some delays still. Everything's just that little bit slower as it makes its way around the world, but things are still shipping out. So if you want something for Christmas, it's probably a good idea to sort of order earlier rather than later. But yeah, I'm still shipping out on Tuesdays, so if there's anything you want in the shop, you can order that for shipping on Tuesday. And anyway, back to knitting. And I shouldn't have been casting on another sock, because when I went through my whips last week, you saw that I had a couple of socks in my basket, but I couldn't resist because the fibre company have brought out a new yarn. So this is called Amble, and it's a sock yarn. This is gorgeous. So it's just my kind of sock yarn. I'll show you, I've got the label here, I hope that focuses, but it's a really lovely yarn. Basically it is merino, alpaca and recycled nylon. So yeah, I think, like, I love everything about this yarn. So basically I've said before that I do some work with the fibre company, so I know this has been in production for so long. They've been trying to develop this yarn, and it's actually so interesting for me to finally be knitting with this, because I think I've knit with two different yarns that didn't make it. So they were sort of like yarns that they'd had spun up that they thought might work for the socks, but for whatever reason they didn't carry on with sort of down that route, because there were things that we weren't so happy about, and that's really interesting to me that this feels very different to both of the yarns that I knit with previously that they were working on for socks. But basically they have produced this technique, and it's called Easy Wash. So it's it makes the yarn washable, so you can put this in the washing machine, but it's a much more eco-friendly process. It doesn't use the harsh chemicals that you get with the superwash process. So it's a really interesting yarn. I think this is this is a really innovative yarn, and what I also like about it is that they've used recycled nylon, so it's keeping nylon sort of from commercial practices out of landfill, and they've been able to use it for these socks, so I know that they're going to be really hard wearing. So I don't know if you can see, it's brown, but it's got so many tones to it. It's got almost like a teal blue and some like warmer plummy shades. This is the Cozy Autumn sock pattern, which I've knit before by Olivia of This Handmade Life, and yeah, it's a top down sock, which I don't usually do. But yeah, I'm just trying to stretch it out a little bit, hopefully that you can see. I'm not sure how well it'll pick up with the cable pattern, but I haven't got much to go. I've just got the foot, and then I'll be able to close the toe. So next time either I'll have the pair finished, or I'll at least have one on a sock block to show you. But yeah, I'm really excited about this yarn. I'm so glad that I've finally been able to get my hands on skein. It feels really cushy. It's actually, yeah, it's very kind of squishy yarn. Yeah, and I think it just feels great. You're gonna have to try it. If you're kind of into those like more eco-conscious things, I think this will be a yarn that you'd really be interested in trying out, because as I say, I'm sort of intrigued by this easy wash process, because I don't think I've ever put any of my knits in the washing machine. And I feel like I might just to try these, but I don't know, I'm quite happy to hand wash my things, and I'm sure it helps them last longer if you do hand wash them. But I'm very intrigued now. I've got a little nephew to try and knit things like this, where mum will probably want to put them in the washing machine, because yeah, little ones get dirty. I've actually told my sister, I mean, I see her every week, so I was like, don't worry about trying to wash it. If you want every week, you can just give me any of his like dirty hand knits, and I'm happy to pop them in with my bits and wash those. So yeah, so I'm interested to try things like that I maybe would want to wash in the machine. But yeah, so I've got socks on the needles. I don't even know, I have got these out, but I don't even know if it's worth showing you these, because I think I've only done one more repeat. But I've got, this is in one of my winter bags actually. These aren't quite in the shop yet, but I've got a little winter DPN cozy and a winter sock sack. And yeah, I was just in the mood that I really wanted to get out my Christmas bits, so I popped that in there. But yeah, since I spoke to you last, I'm pretty sure I've only done one, possibly two repeats. I know I've definitely done one, but actually this is another This Handmade Life pattern. She is one of my favourite sock designers. You'll notice I do a lot of hair patterns, and Danielle George of Little Bobbins also do quite a few of hers. But this is in the Woolly Mammoth. It's her natural sock base, and yeah, these are gorgeous. These are lovely woolly sock, and I'm really looking forward to wearing these. So I'm glad that I found these while I was going through all my organisation and going through my whip, seeing what was in the basket, because I don't want those to get forgotten. So yeah, I started working on those a little bit. Actually, I was doing that, and then that's when my yarn arrived. I wanted to get knitting on that. So I've got could just show you the ball. It's a lovely light dusky pink. I think that's a really beautiful shade. Emma of Woolly Mammoth, she does the most beautiful colours. I really love this. So that's a lovely sock that I've got going as well. So as soon as I finish my autumn socks, I definitely want to get these finished. So I think these will be really cosy for the winter time. They've got that feel that they're just like a lovely woolly sock that be lovely and cosy to wear. So I've got that, and the last thing is another project that you've seen before, and it's my deep moss pot sweater, which I was working on when I saw you last. And this is another Fibre Company yarn, so I'll show you that in the cake. This is called Stable. The colourway is called Stable, the yarn's called Law, but it's a lovely kind of biscuity shade. Yeah, really nice. I love Law. It blocks so nicely, it wears really well. I mean, I've been wearing the turquoise version that I knit of this so often, and it just looks like the day that I blocked it. It doesn't show any signs of wear, which I love. I love these kind of like really robust hand knits, but I still feel like it's it's just got a really nice feel. It's like a very woolly wool, but yeah, it's great. You can tell that I really like it. So it's a bit hard to see on the needles. You can see I've done quite a lot of the yoke. I've actually done another round of increases. So I think the first, you have about 5 of these little, I don't know what you'd call these stitches, these little scooped stitches, and then you increase again and it sort of splits down into another 2 rows. So I'm on that, which is quite hard to see, but they are there, so they're just branching off into their next section, which will then come down. The yoke comes down to about here, about down to there, over the arms. So yeah, so I've got that, and I've been sort of slowly going on that, because now I don't know how many stitches on the needle, it's probably about 300 stitches, but it feels like a lot, so the rows are quite slow going, but the pattern's a really nice one to follow. I feel like now I've done so many rows, I just kind of glance at which row I've got next, and before I know it, by looking at the line before, I can quite easily see what I need to do next. It's kind of in nice little groupings that I can, it's quite intuitive. I wouldn't say it's like simple, it's not like you just get it straight away, but I feel like it is quite, once you get into the rhythm of it and you know what that little group of stitches you're doing each line, and you're reading your work from the line before, it's really simple to pick up once you get going. So got that in one of my sweater sacks, which is another one of my designs from the shop. And yeah, that's everything for me today. I'm really happy that I got to show you those few bits. Main thing that I wanted to film was so that I could give my nephew his little jumper back, because I took some photos of him in it, and then I said to my sister, I've got to take it back because I want to show everybody on my YouTube, because I thought you'd be excited to see this as well. And I know, especially at this time of year, actually it's a really good one if you're thinking of knitting for like nephews, or maybe you've got grandchildren, that kind of thing. Actually, it'd be really nice. Tell me in the comments below if you're knitting something for anyone at Christmas or holiday gifts, that kind of thing, or even just for something nice. Like, I feel like it's been such a difficult year. I'm sure lots of people are not just knitting for the holidays this year. I'm sure people are knitting just because they feel like they know someone that needs something special. They need a hand knit blanket, they need a sweater to feel loved, because that's what our hand knits are, aren't they? They're very special and very precious. If you knit something for someone else, I feel like that is something that's truly special. So yeah, if you are working on something for someone else, let me know in the comments. And if you prefer to just knit for yourself, that's fine. Tell me what you're making as well. I actually don't often knit for other people. I very much mainly knit for myself, just because that's what I like to do. I feel like, I don't know, I've always felt that I think I'm getting more pleasure out of the making than maybe somebody else is from receiving my knits, if that makes sense. I definitely feel like if somebody really wanted something and I thought they were a knit-worthy person, I would quite happily knit that. Like my boyfriend Theo, he really wanted a scarf last year, and I knew the kind of colour he wanted. We both talked about it, and I happily knit that, and it looks great, and he wears it loads. I like that kind of knit where, you know, somebody really wants something and they kind of can see and appreciate the time you've put into something. But I definitely have felt like before, maybe sometimes knits aren't appreciated. People maybe even think it's like a cheap gift, that I don't know if people think it's that I don't know, they don't understand. If you're not into knitting, I don't think you have any idea how expensive yarn can be for a start. Not that it's about how much money's put into a gift, but yeah, I definitely feel like people maybe don't understand how much like love and care and money has gone into a project. They maybe just think it's almost like free because you've made it. It's like a homemade gift. But yeah, I feel like there's certain people in my life that are knit worthy, but I don't necessarily every year think, oh, I've got to like knit something for everybody on my list. I just knit very like selective things. Like I really wanted to knit this for my nephew. He's kind of that little bit bigger now, that he's like sitting up and starting to move around, and he looks really cute in his hand knits, and it's getting a bit chilly out, so I thought he could do with something like a proper little sweater. And I can see how he gets on with this, and if he gets lots of wear out of it, maybe I'll knit the next size. I don't think I actually mentioned, but this was actually a free pattern, so that was also a bonus that I used a free pattern, and the yarn was something that I had in stash, so it was kind of like a low risk project that I was like, can spend a couple of weekends knitting this and haven't got much to lose if put it on. And he hates wearing hand knit, so I did think that could be an option, because I don't know, but he's actually very tactile, and whenever I'm wearing sweaters, like I wear quite woolly sweaters, and he's always like feeling them. He like really likes to feel the sweaters, so I did have a feeling that he would be okay. He's never like not wanted to, I don't know, he's never found it. You might think that somebody would think, oh, it's a bit scratchy for a baby, but yeah, he seems totally happy with my hand knits. So yeah, anyway, I'm just nattering on, so I should probably go, and thank you for watching. And as I said below, there'll be all the show notes. There'll be that link to sign up if you want the show notes email. And yeah, have a look and see what's in the shop if you're looking to buy some treats for yourself this holiday season. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.